Hello and welcome to the Weekly Note. I'm James A. Brown. Thanks for joining me. We were just talking about a phrase that's come up in the financial press over the last few years. It's called doom spending. This is a phrase that they claim is huge among Gen Z. Well, not so much a phrase, but a way of being. And when I say way of being, I mean a way of going about your life. So let's take a walk in their shoes. If you look at your 401k and you look at your parents and what they have and what they spend to live their lives in their 60s, 70s, 80s. If you look at your bank account and you're like, "Oh, I have to spend every dime just to get through the week or the pay period." If you look at your savings account and you're like, "Man, I try to stock away something, but it's never enough." If you look at the cost of housing in your area and you're like, "Man, how am I going to ever afford to have a house? How am I going to afford to have kids? How am I ever going to pay off my car loan?" I say that as a person who, at now 41, just paid off my first car. I've owned used cars, but this was a car loan that over several years that I actually paid off. It was the first time in my life. For someone in Gen Z, someone younger, let's say someone in their 20s, it's even harder than someone my age. Someone who's like, "Man, I'm going through my life and I'm like, I don't think I can afford anything." Well, not anything substantial, any to purchase any major asset at all, like a home. What am I supposed to do? Sock away everything and put it in a savings account and hope that inflation doesn't eat it all away? If you look at your salary and you look at the person who's a step above you at your office or your job, and you're like, "Man, I don't, even if I get that next step's not gonna be enough for me to buy a house wherever I live or buy a condo or an apartment or whatever." Why not YOLO? Why not spend the money that you have socked away on Taylor Swift, on Drake, on Bad Bunny, on whoever, on Disney? It's about experiences. While this is no doubt reckless behavior, it is something that's the financial press has begun calling doom spending. They call it prioritizing immediate pleasures over long term savings. It sounds like an accusation, and it is. It's irresponsible, dressed up like jargon. And it's definitely something that, any financial advisor, your Dave Ramseys of the world would like, "Oh my God." But do they have a point? Well, somewhat. I wouldn't say it's the best point in the world, but they do have there is some logic to this kind of behavior. So let's break down the pieces of here. Let's look at the thing that most of us want. They want to own a home. It's the American dream, traditionally. Now, I'm fortunate. I live in Rochester, New York. In Rochester, you can buy a home. I live in the city of Rochester, and you could buy a home there for 120, 130, 140,000. If you go out to the burbs around where I live, you could buy a house. You're probably in a 200,000, 300,000. But that's below the national level. Now, if you look at Zillow, Zillow says $400,000. It takes $400,000 in order to buy a house, a median house in America. Now, median, it gets a little squirrely because we talk about averages. We're including Will Smith's house and my house. Those are very, very different houses, but it does give you a sense of where we are nationally, even if that's off a little. I mean, could you come up with a down payment for $400,000? Could you come up with a down payment for 300,000? Especially when you're a youngin and we're in the midst of a housing crunch. We don't have enough houses for everybody. There's a rule of thumb in real estate that says you shouldn't buy a house that costs more than 3 times your annual income. That's the conventional wisdom. 400,000? That's 5 times the average national income. We've been in a crisis when it comes to trying to own a home for since I got out of college. I graduated in '06, and it hasn't gotten better. It just gets worse and worse and worse. For most young Americans, home ownership isn't just difficult. It's mathematically absurd. Many people would need a 40% raise, 40%, just to get to the affordability levels that our parents had. 20% to get to the affordability levels that I've had. And most of us, that ain't happening. And that's not all of it. I mean, look at retirement. That one's tough because at least with housing, you can see what you're not getting. With retirement, it's all projections and speculation in hopes that the market, which seems overheated, doesn't blow up before you're 64. If we're lucky, if the retirement rate doesn't go up to 68 or 70, this we will go to the Federal Reserve. They found that 43% of non-retired adults have no retirement savings at all. Zero, nothing put away. That's almost half of working Americans with nothing between them and working